Dave King seizes control of Rangers with a landslide victory at the club's EGM and then promises to make them a club that the fans can be proud of once again.
He thanks the supporters for playing a huge part in the transfer of power and says that money will be invested to get the team back to the Premiership as quickly as possible.
But we start with what's been a momentous day for Rangers, and Dave King has taken control of the club. On an emotional day in Glasgow, he says he is the man to restore the club to greatness. He concedes it won't be easy, but claims it's time to reward the fans who have got him to this point. Well, these then are today's big developments. King got the votes that he needed to take control at today's EGM at Ibrox Stadium. Paul Murray, who will be interim chairman while regulatory checks on King are completed, and John Gilligan join him on the board. Gilligan said the club was emerging from 4 years under siege. Businessman Douglas Park, part of the Three Bears consortium, was later added to the new look board. But with additions come departures. Mike Ashley's allies Derek Lumbias and Barry Leach have been voted off the board. Well, King arrived at Ibrox this morning for the formality of the EGM. Many supporters had bought shares on the open market and pledged their support to his campaign. And King went into the day having already proclaimed a landslide victory. And that victory was confirmed in the afternoon when King, Murray and Gilligan very soon emerged onto the steps at Ibrox to a rapturous reception. Their consortium received 85% of the vote, and King had this to say to the assembled fans.
Derek Lumbias told me last week that it was a landslide. He certainly wasn't kidding, because it is a landslide. And I think it is very, very important as we stand here today that on behalf of myself and my two colleagues standing beside me here, I think we've come a long road. And I think the Rangers fans have suffered for quite a few years now.
For too long. Thank you very much.
You know, I think what has happened today is something that really can't be understated. This is definitely a turning point for Rangers Football Club, and not a turning point in the history of the football club, but a turning point in the future to take it more back to the history, because what we are determined to do is to create a Rangers Football Club that will all start to recognise with the tradition of the football club, both on the field and off the field.
After that address, it was on to the news conference, which we brought you live on Sky Sports News HQ. And within it, King addressed what happens next. He says he's ready to appoint a new nominated advisor, or nomad, to the stock exchange in order to help shares in the club trade again. King is still being checked by regulators, but says he has no worries about being deemed a fit and proper person, but says he would not sit on the board if he failed. His consortium will now put their plan into action as they address the club's finances, and that includes consultation with Mike Ashley's Sports Direct, who have made significant loans to keep the club afloat in the past year. King described the fans' effort in helping him take power as phenomenal and humbling, and now he wants to engage a new generation of support.
The club, I think, to use a term that Paul referred to, is pretty much broken. I mean, it's broken in many areas. There's footballing issues, there's infrastructural issues, there's scouting issues. I mean, really pretty much everything within the club has to be looked at. So it's very important that we get on top of that, I think, fairly quickly. So I think information gathering is going to be a big part of our immediate priority. The issue is not about power. I mean, my position is no different from Paul or John's. I mean, we're all trying to achieve the same thing. It's not really about power, and I think maybe part of the problem over the last couple of years has been a confusion between what is right for the company versus what was right for individuals. And I think we're seeking to move away from that. If you look at what we're trying to do in terms of taking the club forward, what we're actually trying to do in taking it forward is take it back. You know, by taking it forward, we want it to get it back what we know it to be. We want Rangers to get back to being in its rightful place in Scottish football, and very importantly, we want Rangers to go back to the value system and the ethos that we grew up with, that is I think sadly disappeared over the last couple of years.
When do you expect the share suspension to be lifted?
As I understand it technically, now that the meeting is over, it means that we can formally engage with the new nomad, because that's something the club has to engage with. As much as I had pre-off-the-record discussions with a nomad, that really was kind of in the status of representing a board in waiting, but it was never possible to properly engage them. So we can only do that from today, and my indication from the nomad is that if I confirm to them today, which I've just not had the chance yet, that we were successful, hopefully they'll know that already, that they will start formally engaging on Monday, and then the process, as I understand it, could run up to 4 weeks.
Well, as well as business matters, the new man in charge also addressed the football issues facing the club. They're currently third in the Championship. And in Kenny McDowell, they have a manager serving out the notice period on his contract. So what's the plan regarding a new boss and getting promoted?
At this stage in Rangers Club's history and its development going forward, we need less of a manager, if I can use that term, and much more of a coach, because we're going to be bringing in players. We're not going to go out and buy a new team and then tell someone to come in and manage them. You're going to need someone with a different set of skills who's going to have to come in and build and develop and bring youngsters coming through. So it is a very, very important position. I think we have to just be very, very, very careful. We're hoping that with a full resumption of attendance and energy from the fans, that it might give the team a bit of a pick-up for the rest of the season. They'll be playing in front of pretty large attendances, I would imagine, from now on in. So, hopefully they can still get across the line this year. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But then in year two, I think with the improved cash flow, with improved investment, Rangers, even if they're in the same league, should be investing in a squad that can take it up anyway for the following season. So I would expect, even without improvement, to see a huge improvement in the quality of what's on the playing field next season, no matter what league we're playing in. For someone that's grown up with a Rangers club and a Rangers tradition that I always believed would always be there. I think I kind of picked it up from my father and turned from his father, and it concerned me that even though I'm not living in Scotland, but for all those who are here, you had a situation where that seemed to be breaking. And there was a real danger, if this continued, that you could end up with a kind of lost generation, because there is a time for fathers to take their sons to football matches. And it's 5, 6, 7 or 8, and if this thing continued, there could have been a whole bunch of kids never had the fun and the opportunity to go with their parents and develop the same love for this great club.
So Dave King spoke only to us in London yesterday. He spoke to us in Glasgow last night, and today he spoke to us again, this time having gained control of the club. Let's go live now to Charles Patterson at Ibrox in the south side of the city for more reaction. Charles, good evening.
Thank you, Jim. It's been quite a day for all the Rangers supporters and shareholders who were waiting with bated breath for the result. They suspected Dave King would win the day. He has done now, and the hard work has now got to begin. Let's speak to Ricky Neal from Rangers First, the group that's gathered so many shares over the coming weeks, and members as well, Ricky. You've now got 13,000 members. How do you feel today?
It's been an amazing day today. It's one of the biggest days in the history of Rangers. The result, 85%, is what a landslide. Rangers are back.
Dave King has committed today in that media conference to spending more than £10 million on the team in the next year. That's quite a pledge to make, isn't it?
That's an amazing boost to the team, and it's something we really need. We may not qualify this season, but next season we'll definitely be back, and we'll be back fighting for the top of the Scottish League.
What would your message be to Sandy Easdale tonight? He abstained in the vote, but he controls 20% of shareholdings, and he's on the board of the football board as well. What do you think the fans want to see from him?
I think most fans want to see him out of Ibrox now, and you never know, maybe one day Rangers First will be in a position that we can actually buy the shares off of Sandy.
Would you encourage him to do that?
Yes.
Yeah. Get Sandy Easdale to give the Rangers First the shares. I mean, would that be maybe a good PR move from his point of view?
Definitely. I think even the fact that he didn't vote today, it shows that I think he knows he was in the wrong.
How would Rangers fans feel about the possibility of Ali McCoist being involved again from the team point of view? As Dave King alluded to, they're going to speak to him.
Yeah, well Mr McCoist, he's a true true legend at Rangers, and he would always be welcome. I don't think he would ever want to come back as manager right enough, but he'll always be welcome in some kind of capacity.
And with regards to Rangers potentially being delisted, Dave King hinted on that. Do you have any concerns about that?
Not at all. At least Dave King's honest. You know, he's totally transparent. You know, there was no need for him to say that today, and he did. So I'm back whatever he says.
Ricky, thank you very much indeed. So many Rangers fans delighted, Jim, at the way things have turned out today. The hard work, though, begins for Dave King and his allies now, you would think.
Thanks very much.